Hello everyone, my name is Radu-Dan IRINI. I am a PhD student, part of the Management Department at the Faculty of Economics and Business Administration from Cluj-Napoca. Today I'm going to present the findings of my paper related with the main challenges in the path of efficiently managing workforce diversity. In short, the purpose of this literature review is to showcase the main barriers identified in diversity management research, barriers that can hinder organizations from benefiting from all the advantages brought by diverse employees. Why is the topic of workforce diversity and diversity management important? Well, because nowadays workforce diversity represents the organizational norm. Research findings clearly suggesting that organizations and institutions that ignore the importance of diversity management are missing out, both socially and economically. Diversity management brings together the concept of diversity, equality, and inclusion, and it represents the shift from simple tolerance of the different other to embracing and celebrating the rich dimensions of diversity contained in each person. One of the main arguments behind the selection of the subject of this paper lies in the scarcity of research focused on diversity management challenges, especially compared to research focused on instruments and practices destined to manage diversity inside the workplace. Regarding the methodology of this paper, the study is a qualitative literature review focusing on insights gained from published works related to diversity management, to workforce diversity, and to challenges related with diversity within the workplace. This paper is considered conceptual as it relies on journal articles and books for secondary data. Practitioners must be aware that each individual embodies at least one manifestation of every diversity dimension. This is one of the reasons why organizations must implement initiatives targeting workforce diversity. In the diversity management discourse, there is an infinite number of diversity dimensions. However, there are 6 which are considered to be the primary dimensions of diversity, or the internal dimensions, namely age, gender or sex, race, ethnicity, physical ability, and sexual orientation. Secondary dimensions include communication style, work style, organizational role or level, economic status, religion, and geographic location. As individuals bring unique perspectives to the organizational context, diversity inside the workplace represents a double-edged sword. The literature reviewed suggests that workforce diversity can lead to increased team or organizational performance, can lead to enhanced innovation and creativity, and can represent a source of competitive advantage or sustained competitive advantage. However, the presence of diversity inside organization could also lead to an increase of conflicts, to poor communication, and reduced team coordination. Obtaining diversity advantages is a complex journey, as there are numerous challenges to be overcome. Diversity researchers suggest that barriers related to diversity in the workforce could be turned into advantages only if the barriers are removed and diversity initiatives are efficiently managed. Failing to value diversity or failing to address the organizational challenges related to diversity will negatively affect both employees and customers, leading to major bottom line losses for the organization. The main findings of the paper were separated into 4 interlinked subsections, each suggesting one critical challenge that organizations must overcome in order to reap the benefits of a diverse workforce. Many of the challenges that companies face stem from the fact that they cannot articulate what diversity represents to them. This lack of focus ultimately prevents organizations from crafting smart and actionable plans to attack the problem at hand. The literature review presents barriers brought about by inexistent, vague, or a broad conceptualization given to workplace diversity. This challenge can hinder organizational intentions to efficiently manage diversity and can negatively affect attitudes and perceptions of employees. To present a strong and explicit diversity message, diversity researchers recommend the creation of a unique definition of diversity based on organizational scope, objectives, and results. Furthermore, the unique context of an organization is highly relevant in the process of creating a diversity definition, as perceptions related to diversity can differ in a specific cultural context. The perfect recipe for how an organization should define diversity is therefore non-existent. However, understanding the implications and importance of interpreting diversity based on the inimitable cultural context and objectives should create a suitable setting for organizations to efficiently define diversity. The failure of top and middle management to identify the benefits of diversity initiatives is considered the most significant challenge diversity management faces today. The reasons for the lack of support within organizations varies widely. Even when diversity management advantages are acknowledged by managers, researchers claim that the perceived threat placed on their position of power could potentially represent the motive behind the lack of diversity management support. Another resistance motive refers to the high initial economic costs of diversity management practices and the overestimated perceptions that benefits would appear imminently. Even when the top executive team decides to offer its support for diversity, one important question remains, namely, who would be responsible for supervising and controlling these diversity initiatives? Although several authors consider diversity management responsibility to be split between executive managers and human resource professionals, other researchers suggest that diversity management should be an organization-wide effort, where everybody from line managers, human resource employees, specialized diversity practitioners, to employees from various departments, all are responsible for maintaining an inclusive environment where diversity is cherished, encouraged, and efficiently managed. Without addressing organizational stereotypes, prejudice, and discrimination, and without implementing supportive actions to reduce their damaging consequences, executives may expect an organizational environment characterized by a lack of support and biased recruitment, resulting in marginalized and demotivated employees, diminished self-confidence and self-efficacy, and ultimately in increased turnover of talented and diverse individuals. Those responsible for managing diversity have the duty to identify which types of discrimination affects their organization and implement diversity initiatives accordingly. To increase awareness and reduce the negative effects of prejudice and discrimination, specific actions must be implemented with the goal of recognizing personal biases and taking corrective actions. Today, the most commonly used instrument designed to reduce prejudice and discrimination is diversity training, a tool that must be implemented to both employees and the top management. Many diversity management barriers are rooted in inegalitarian practices and beliefs found in the organizational culture. A repetitive mistake is related to the perception of executives that the first objective of diversity management is to change employees' attitudes towards diversity rather than to address the issues that originate in the company's culture. Challenging discriminatory practices rooted in organizational culture is considered very difficult when there is a high level of resistance to change. Organizations should rethink the impact of recruitment and selections, and leaders must be able and prepared to recruit, train, evaluate, and lead diverse individuals without any sign of bias and prejudice. Furthermore, to challenge discriminatory practices, statements of support for diversity and inclusion must initially originate from the top executives. Then, these messages of support must be strengthened by attitudes and behaviors identified at all administrative levels. As presented throughout the review, successfully implementing diversity initiatives is a complex and rather difficult action, as resistance to change, lack of support, unfit diversity definition, unclear responsibility, prejudice, and discrimination all can hinder the process of valuing workforce diversity. The current paper presents the idea that the first step in managing diversity is to identify all potential challenges and take corrective actions either to remove them, to diminish their negative effects, or to turn these obstacles into organizational advantages. We must remember that managing diversity is a long-term activity. It requires prolonged commitment of the entire organization, starting from top executives to human resource employees and the rest of the workforce. An initial solution to overcome the organizational culture barrier could be the addition of diversity as a corporate value, ensuring a fit diversity definition based on the existing diversity dimensions and the unique organizational context. After the elimination of rooted discriminatory practices, efficient diversity management requires transparent managerial support, clear responsibilities, and continuous actions to eliminate all obstacles that affect the well-being of the workforce, including majority and minority groups. Thank you very much for your attention.